Hello, I'm Steven Roy Goodman, host of Higher Education Today. Welcome back to the education program that connects you to contemporary issues, people, and institutions involved in the world of higher education. Today's show is a special joint production of the University of the District of Columbia and the University of Aberdeen. I'm here in Aberdeen, Scotland, where we'll be talking about the University of Aberdeen and student-faculty administration relations. Sir Ian Diamond is Vice-Chancellor of the University of Aberdeen. Previously, he was Chief Executive of the ESRC, the Economic and Social Research Council, and Deputy Vice-Chancellor at the University of Southampton. Megan Dunn is President of the Aberdeen University Students Association. She comes from Manchester and earned her Master of Arts degree in Politics and International Relations. Megan represents over 16,000 students and is responsible for a budget of £1.4 million. Welcome to both of you.
Steve.
Well, thank you for coming, and thank you for your hospitality at your great university here.
It's our pleasure.
Well, Sir Ian, maybe if we could start with you, could you just give an American viewer a little bit background about the University of Aberdeen?
That's right. Well, Aberdeen is one of Scotland's 4 ancient universities. We were founded in 1495. We've been here 520 years. 520 years of doing 2 things. We were founded by Bishop Elphinstone, our founder, with a commitment to absolute excellence in everything we do. But more than that, also having a real impact, initially on the northeast of Scotland, but more recently all over the world. And I think all the Vice-Chancellors since then, I'm the 31st, have really just lived and died that commitment to excellence and to having impact. We're a university that is now firmly within the top 1% of universities worldwide, a university that covers everything, from anthropology right the way through to zoology, and where we have a real commitment to our student experience. We work very closely with our students, and unlike many universities which have a real commitment to research, and we do have a real commitment to research, we have as our #1 objective a student experience second to none.
Well, and fair enough. Speaking of student experiences, Megan, it's unusual, if I understand this correctly, that you actually get paid and you represent the student government, and your student government is quite powerful.
Yes, we have 7 full-time officers who are all paid to do this. We treat them as sabbatical years, so you can take them either during your degree or as me the year after that you graduate. We run in elections that are voted on by the whole student population, and that's where we get our democratic legitimacy from.
And how long was your campaign?
The campaigning period is 3 days, but the run-up is much longer, doing interviews and videos and writing manifestos to ensure that students really know what you think and what you will do when you're in office. And
if you wouldn't mind explaining what you have done since you've been in office and what your objectives are so far, and what they will be. Yes, so we have 2 focuses, one internally as an organisation, and secondly our relationship with the university, which is very close. We've worked very closely with the university this year to fix international fees, which I'm sure will be of huge interest to American viewers. University of Aberdeen is now one of the first universities in the UK to ensure that international student fees don't rise year on year through the degree, but rather are fixed throughout to ensure stability for students. And that's one of the big achievements jointly from us and the university this year. Internally, we have 57 sports clubs, 120 societies, and we have lots of student activities, so student newspapers and radio and TV stations, to ensure that students really get a rounded experience of university and can really grow and develop as people as well. Well, and speaking of student fees, so how many American students are there in Aberdeen, and how much do they pay to come here?
I guess there's around about 150 American students here, and the overall package is around about £15,000 per year. That's fees and accommodation. Which would be cheaper than many US universities. Oh, absolutely. We are very much cheaper than many American universities. But I would have to say, offering exactly the same student experience and very, very much a commitment to an experience which is a close relationship between teaching and research.
Well, I noticed in the student newspaper that I read the other day that there was a survey taken that a number of international students said that they weren't happy here. Why did I see that story?
Well, I think you saw that story, and actually it was a survey not of the University of Aberdeen, but a survey of UK international students that was being reported by the University of Aberdeen Students newspaper. I would have to say that I'm not going to sit here and say that every student in every university in the UK is unbelievably happy. We believe here at the University of Aberdeen that we work with our student body. We listen to Megan and her colleagues all the time, and we act so that we can say, you said this, we did that, to improve the student experience. And I would frankly be extremely surprised if that survey that you have read, which was a national survey, was replicated within the University of Aberdeen.
And what about the students from England who come up to Scotland? How do they do?
You'd have to ask Megan. But certainly we have a long history of students from all over the United Kingdom, and our students who come up from England do extremely well in their studies, and again contribute an enormous amount to student life, and as far as I can make out, have a great time as well. But you'd have to ask Megan.
Yes, I think what's interesting about a UK-wide survey is that actually the atmosphere in England and Scotland is quite notably different a lot of the time. As an English student, and England and Scotland traditionally have quite a rivalry. I found Scotland to be incredibly welcoming to me as an English student, and the international students that I've spoken to have found Scotland an incredibly welcoming place to be. It also allows huge opportunities for trips to go see the Loch Ness Monster, and a really rounded experience here.
Would you mind talking a little bit about your social life? I always ask students that. What is your daily life like?
My daily life now and when I was a student full-time was somewhat different, because obviously now I have a sort of a 9-to-5 day job. When I was a student, I spent a lot of my time involved in student government things. I sat on the student council and the welfare committee, and then was a part-time education officer, so was really able to, as a student, get involved in the university and the decision making that took place there. And I felt really able to sort of shape my own experience here. I was also a member of a number of societies, so anything from I was involved in a society that puts on cafes, to the dance society, which holds 50 classes a week, and I was members of all those societies, so it was a really vibrant part of my life.
I think it's worth saying that we at the University of Aberdeen believe hugely in the co-curricula. Our curriculum, which merges intellectual rigour with breadth, is obviously critical, but we believe very much in students becoming citizens and having co-curricular activities, and we represent them on the transcripts, and we think that's incredibly important because our students come here to learn but also to develop as citizens, and that's incredibly important to us.
Well, that is an interesting point because a lot of universities don't put those kind of activities on transcripts. What about the issues of assistance with career placement? Do you have a career center that assists students like Megan or your former colleagues who are going through a job search?
Very much. Year on year, the percentage of our undergraduate students who are in a job 6 months after graduating has been going up. And the reason for that is that our Careers Centre is seen as being an example of best practice. And Megan will be able to say about the support that she and her colleagues have had. But I, for one, am absolutely passionate that we are preparing people for the next stage of their career. So alongside the three things I've already mentioned, we build into all our curricula employability skills, working in teams, giving presentations, the sorts of things that you will need in what, let's be frank, is a challenging global labour market. And I can report that our statistics show increasing employability, and the really good news is for UK universities, we are towards the very top for average graduate salaries, so you're also likely to get rich.
To get rich. So you heard it here for all our American viewers. If you come to Aberdeen, you're going to get rich. The Vice-Chancellor just said so, if I heard that correctly.
On average.
On average.
Yes, the career service was something that I used throughout my time at university while I was trying to decide what it is that I wanted to do. I know some of the colleagues that I work with full-time are still able to use the career service as well, and that when the university calls to check on how you're doing after you leave, you also can then have access to the careers service as well. So lots of my friends who have now left have had phone calls from the university to see what it is that they're doing now, and to say that if they needed to, they could come back and use the careers service as and when they needed.
And what about your housing as a student? How was that?
So I lived in student residence in a student village, which is just off campus, for the entirety of my first year. I think it's a really important part of student life for people who are coming here and don't have that support network already built up around them, to really sort of create your own family and your own home here in Aberdeen. I moved from 7 hours away, which from the States isn't a particularly long way, but I was really able to build a support network to see me through my time at university. Still in touch with a lot of the friends that I made in first year in those student halls, which is really important. After that, we tend to move down into slightly smaller accommodation, so flats of 3 to 4 people, which really does allow you to sort of focus on your studies while having that sort of communal living that you really want as a student.
And do you have plans, or Ian, to change the housing in any way?
Well, we're doing two things. We're just investing around £20 million in a complete refurbishment of the student village that Megan has just described. And I have to say that in doing that, we've worked with our students to find out what the facilities they want are. In addition, we have just put into our capital plan a new plan for a large number of flats and affordable accommodation to ensure that both our students and our junior staff are able to have the sorts of accommodation that they need. We take having accommodation close to campus as incredibly important.
And do you live on campus as well?
I live on campus. I'm hugely privileged to live in the principal's residence, which is not only a great place to live, but it's a great place to entertain and to hold functions. And
that comes with you becoming the Vice-Chancellor?
Exactly.
That's a nice perk.
It's a very nice perk. I mean, of course, I pay a market rent for that.
And Sir Ian also accommodates, has events where he invites sports captains to come to meet him at the residence and socialise, and so he's able to keep in touch with the student body through that way as well.
Interesting. And then could you talk, I realize there are a lot of lights here, but what is your relationship like with each other?
We get on very well. I mean, I think it is incredibly important that there is a strong relationship between the principal and the head of the Students Association. I think it's just essential. Megan's been great to work with, and one can point to a number of really quite fundamental changes that we're making in the university. For example, in our governance, where I very much hope that our Board of Governors will agree to increase the number of students to 2 at its next meeting, but also in the way that we bring student representative into all aspects of governance through the university. And Megan has been incredibly influential in driving the justification for those changes. I also think it's incredibly important that we're able to have informal conversations so that I can find out the sorts of key things that Megan is thinking about and act on them as quickly as we can.
Yeah, I think what's really interesting here is that many universities don't have at the top of their agenda the student experience, and what having that allows you to do is to be very open and frank about what it is that will improve the student experience most. It's a mutual interest for us both, and which means that actually we're both working towards the same aim, which makes a working relationship really pleasant and really actually productive and able to achieve things to make student life better, and that is both of our aims.
And just to show that, if you like, the university's confidence in the partnership that we have with our students, we've recently appointed 3 of the most important positions in the university, the head of our administration, the head of marketing, and our new librarian. And Megan sat on the appointments panel as a full member for each of those.
Well, what about faculty members? I understand that there was a big strike here not too long ago from some lecturers, if I understood this correctly.
It's a UK-wide strike, so pay negotiations are done for staff members on a UK-wide basis, so the strike was UK-wide.
And so the faculty members they didn't have a choice. If they were a member of the union, they had to strike?
Well, I think that if you're a member of a union, you still have a choice, but it was a union called strike as the basis of a democratic ballot by the union members as to whether they would take that strike.
And how did the administration and the student administration deal with that strike?
Well, we tried very hard to put in place processes which would minimise the disruption to students, and that is the job that we have, while at the same time respecting completely the right of people to withdraw their labour at a democratically elected ballot.
Yeah, I think we want to do a number of things. We want to support staff in ensuring that they can achieve the things that they want to achieve, but also our primary aim is to make sure that students have the best education and the best time in Aberdeen possible. And so it's really for all of us balancing those two things. The university, I believe, also wants staff to be able to achieve what they want to achieve, but fundamentally the student experience is what our joint aim is.
And your budget is about over £1 million.
Yes.
Where does that money come from?
Megan would love it to be over £1 billion, and we're doing what we can, but at the moment
sadly it's not £1 billion.
Well, higher education today hosts always have the ability to make up a number.
I just wanted to get that right. We'd love it, but
£1 million.
Yes. So there are no subs. There are no membership fees. Every student that attends the University of Aberdeen is automatically a member of the Students Association. We get a block grant, which is negotiated annually with the university. We also have various other revenue streams, some commercial services, as well as events that we run and things like that generate some income. But there are no membership fees for students.
And we're also able, through the great support of our alumni, to be able to find some extra help to the Students Association for particular projects.
Yeah, the alumni have been incredible in supporting student societies and achieving their aims. So whether that's helping get more tools for the student bike co-op, or providing like spaces for people to rehearse in, that's something the alumni have always been really supportive of.
And they would donate money directly to the Student Association or to the Drama Club or to the Bicycle Co-op?
It comes in a number of ways. Sometimes it's direct. Sometimes we have an annual round of telephone giving, and people will be asked, would you like to donate it to the students? And then we have a block of money which we can fund specific projects which the students want to have funded. But I stress, it's what the students want to have funded.
And I think that's what's really interesting, is that idea of having students decide what they want their experience to look like is really powerful. You get to shape the way you want your time in Aberdeen to look like, and it means you get to achieve the things that you want to achieve, which is what the university is really here for.
And one of the things we're just absolutely passionate about, and Megan is putting a huge amount of personal time into, is that we're conscious that we need a really good building for our students, and that's why probably the most urgent part of our capital plan at the moment is to refurbish and really modernise and make beautiful the Students' Association building. And again, that is being led by what the student demands are, against, of course, the budget and the architectural challenges as well. But we're very clear in our minds that this is a student union building for the students, by the students.
Well, let's look at student activities. So it's fairly non-controversial. So most people support drama clubs, most people support bike co-ops, but let's assume the Student Association wanted to get involved in a contentious political issue. Would you have advised people to not get involved in that? And if so, if you did, how would the administration deal with that?
We have regularly been involved in contentious political issues. I think what's really important about the Students' Association, though, is that it is a democratic organisation. So those things are decided by students and not simply by 7 people sat in an office having a chat. And I think that's what I would always advise to other people in this situation in a couple of years, is that if a contentious political issue comes up, we don't shy away from it, but what we do is make sure that we are representing the students that we're here to serve. And that's really the most important part of what we do.
Universities are safe places for difficult debates, and we must make sure that we are able to do that, and our students and indeed our faculty are able to be part of any difficult debates on contentious issues.
Well, let's take the Scottish independence referendum, which doesn't get more contentious than that. I assume the student government would not take a position on that, but you probably have a pro and a con student groups?
We haven't taken a position on that at the moment. It would be up to students if they wanted to, and there's really no appetite for the Students' Association to fall on either side of that debate. But yes, we do have campaign groups from both Better Together, which is the campaign to stay within the UK, and Yes Scotland, which is the campaign for independence, as well as political party groups as well that obviously have their affiliations to each side of the debate.
And just to be absolutely clear, as the university is a charity. As a charity, we will not have a political view. Having said that, it's entirely right and proper that members of the faculty take and publicise their own views. And I'm very proud that we have leading members of both the Yes Scotland campaign and leading members of the Better Together campaign. That seems to me to be the right sort of thing for a university to be doing, because a university must also, I think, do everything it can to ensure that when the Scottish people go into the ballot box on the 18th of September, they make their decision in an informed way, and that is what a university can offer in a huge way, to provide the information for that information to enable people to make a good decision.
And we also, that's what one of the things that we view as our biggest role is making sure that students are informed and able to make a really sound decision, whatever that decision might be. So tomorrow, for instance, we're holding a debate on social justice in Scotland, and we have leading members of the Scottish Green Party, the Lib Dems, the Labour Party, as well as someone who is member of the Jimmy Reid Foundation, which has come up with a proposal for what Scotland would look like post-independence, and they're all coming to debate here what that will look like. So we really want students to be able to be involved in that debate and to challenge themselves and each other on what the future of Scotland should look like.
And what about your parents, if you don't mind me prying into your personal things a little bit, since you are the only student here on the set today? Were your parents excited about you coming to Scotland in the first place?
Yeah, I think my mum was a little bit upset that I was moving so far away. I think she had hoped that I might stay a little bit closer to home. But I'm the first member of my dad's family to complete university. So it was a really big decision to move so far away. But they were also incredibly excited that you can really branch out and become your own person once you've sort of moved away from that sort of very close-knit circle that I'd lived in the same house all my life. And it was a really exciting challenge for me to be able to move and start that support network from scratch and really do the things that I wanted to do.
We have a problem in the States where a number of universities are committed to helping students who come from disadvantaged backgrounds, but it costs a lot of money to make sure that that happens. Mm-hmm. How does the university balance? I assume you have some of the same issues where you want to encourage more students from all over the UK and all over the world, but on the other hand, it's expensive to do that.
Well, it's money you ought to spend. Let me remind you my first remarks when I said we were here to make an impact. And making an impact on the northeast of Scotland and the north of Scotland is ensuring that every student, regardless of their background, is able to attend university. And we put an enormous amount of effort, particularly into rural areas, and often people in rural areas don't count, according to some of the statistics, as being disadvantaged because of the nature of rural disadvantage. We put an enormous amount of effort into raising aspirations and making it easy for people to come. And we have a number of scholarships which also enable us to help out people from disadvantaged backgrounds with things like maintenance and living expenses. I would also say that another route through which people come to this university is through further education colleges, what in America are called community colleges. And we have increased by over 30% in the last few years the number of people coming to this university from, for example, North East Scotland College. And tomorrow I'll be in Arbroath College talking to students there. We see that as being incredibly important so that students can, if you like, follow their own pathways, but there is no glass ceiling. And indeed, we've been talking on the east coast of America with a number of community colleges where we believe there's a real opportunity for students from those colleges to come and finish an honours degree here at the University of Aberdeen, and so therefore move their own pathway through their own careers.
Within the Students Association as well, we view this as a priority, and one of the things that alumni have recently funded was the beginnings of a scheme that would allow students to go out into the local community and talk to students in schools to really allow them to see someone that they can relate to and their path through, whether that's talking them through the application process or simply just telling them what student life is like, and allowing them to really get a glimpse into what that is so that they feel like it's something that they can understand before they apply.
And so much of it is about aspiration raising from the earlier stages. And just last week I agreed that we would be part of a new scheme called the Children's University up here in the northeast of Scotland, where we will have, and we'll be working with the students, people going in to primary schools, to children aged 7, to talk to them about university, so that by the time one reaches 15 or 16, this is naturally what one is going to do. It isn't such an enormous step. So that is something that we see incredibly important. You asked, where does the money come from? It comes from our budget because we think it's important.
And where does the budget come from?
Well, our budget comes from a number of sources. We get a block grant from the Scottish Government because the Scottish Government is committed to not having fees for Scottish students. We also get a large amount of money around research. We get fees from students from outside of Scotland but within the UK or from the rest of the world. We get money from charities and we get money from our alumni. There is no such thing as, if you like, a block of money. We have a large, diverse portfolio of funds coming in, some of them hypothecated, others of which we can use in whichever ways we want in order to ensure that we are being excellent and having an impact and doing good.
Well, fair enough. We only have a minute or two left. Are there any other comments that you wanted to make before we said goodbye to our American viewers?
I think what I'd just like to say is that Aberdeen is a fantastic place to come to, and that actually I'd really like to thank the principal in public as well for the relationship that we have and the things that we're able to do to make student life better.
I could do no more than echo that. We are a partnership between our students and our staff to do one thing, and that's to ensure that everybody has a fantastic experience and moves on in their lives, remembering Aberdeen forever.
Fair enough. Well, thank you both.
That was great, Megan. Thank you.
If you would like additional information about Sir Ian or Megan Dunn, please visit abdn.ac.uk or ausa.org.uk. If you have comments or suggestions about higher education today, please send an email to our viewer mailbox at highereducationtoday@topcolleges.com. Thank you for watching. We will continue to bring you quality discussions about important matters in today's college and university world. Please join me again for another edition of Higher Education Today. I'm Steven Roy Goodman, and you've been watching Higher Education Today.